Fans of this broadcast company know this commentator loves to storm castles, and what is the most castle-rich country in Europe? It's the Czech Republic. Who invented contact lenses and the sugar cube? The Czechs. Did you know that on Easter in the Czech Republic, women can expect to get spanked on their backside with a willow whip? Now, while all of this is fascinating and true, the thing that all Czechs are most proud of right now is that their countrymate, Lubomir Morris, for the first time ever, sits atop the points for the Apex Online Racing Formula Renault 2.0 Championship. How long will he stay there? Find out in just a few minutes as we count down to round 4 of 12 on the Season 11 schedule, not in the Czech Republic, but rather from Australia's Phillip Island circuit. And all the action that includes a 40-minute feature followed by a 25-minute sprint streams your way live as it happens right here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hello and welcome to another GSRC broadcast. If I whetted your appetite for goulash, my apologies, as we are indeed. It's Vegemite on today's menu. From down under Joe Peak, joining yours truly, Bill Soupzong, to bring you our bird's-eye view of today's events. Sean Ambrose is our director, armed with cameras locked and loaded by Dougie Beard. Okay, Joe, there are a handful of tracks on the iRacing service that I label one size fits all, because no matter what cars you put on it, the track is always a great stage for dramatic racing. What's Phillip Island all about?
You know, I think it's a couple of factors that make this track fit so many different cars. It's got a wide variety of corners, there's places to pass, but also some pretty technical sections and very fast corners. And on top of it, it's got plenty of elevation change, which you know drivers love. Plus, at just over 2 3/4 of a mile, that's about 4.5 kilometers, it's kind of in that sweet spot where it's not too long of a lap for less powerful cars, but not a bull ring for high-end machinery. The other thing that tends to add to the great racing is there's a few sections that are flat out for quite a while, and that of course means good drafting opportunities. Knowing all of this, it's kind of a surprise that this 12-turn track isn't used more frequently in official iRacing series. The track has been around since the 50s, so it's not like it's relatively new. International motorcycle racing comes here, and even the V8 supercars have one of their flagship races at this track. So I would think the fame alone would attract more participation. Regardless, the AOR has definitely come here before and usually puts on a fantastic show. In fact, to get a feel for what the drivers will be dealing with today, why don't we hop on board for the GSRC lap guide and see it from their perspective.
All right, we've got Scott Newton in the GSRC Formula Renault 2.0, so let's do a lap around Phillip Island. Coming down to Dooham, the front stretch goes a long way, so expect lots of drafting to cause side-by-side action into this fast sweeper. Thankfully, it's easily flat out. If they do hold it around the outside, they could have a leg up into the southern loop, where you might see passes completed. But this corner is off-camber, has a crest, and forces a dramatically late apex. Self-made errors will be common. Exiting off, get onto the power confidently and hug the left through Stoner. Then, stay on that side unless you intend to attack or defend. A great many of the passes attempted will likely take place here into Honda, but at the same time, it's very easy to outbrake yourself on entry and slither wide onto the escape road. From out of the corner, you'll switch sides right away to line up for Siberia. There's an uphill climb through this bend, and it's followed by a long period on the gas, so getting to the power as early as it'll grip is critical. You've now hit the backside of the course, and these weaving S's are essentially a straight in the Renault. Straighten them out as best as you can, and then hold off to the right on the approach to Lukey Heights. This long arc is blind, has a decreasing radius, and requires more breathing of the throttle than actual braking. Hold to the left over the top of the hill and then brake for MG, but be aware of surprise attacks. Right away, the track switches back into the penultimate corner where you'll barely breathe the throttle and then floor it from here on out. The final turn is flat out, and with it leading you back onto the pit straight, leaving anything on the table in terms of top speed will make you vulnerable. Hopefully, you kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Phillip Island.
My partner talking and taking us around another racetrack, this time Phillip Island. Okay, viewers, you've got what you wish for here, because for the first time this season, the stars have aligned, and we have reason to show you the segment you've all been calling for, something we like to call Best of Day Honors. Joe, when they added up the Oulton Park results, how did it sort?
Well, obviously you see Scott Newton up at the top there, but not by a whole lot. His fourth and second did well, but once again, we see consistency pays off over a weekend. Lubomir Morris only 3 points back, and Patrick Kessler also only 3 points back. But the big difference between Morris and Kessler, look at Kessler. Even though he won the first one, a 15th meant that he barely squeaked in with that second best of day. He could have had so many more than Newton if he just had a good finish in that second race. Valtteri Alander, sitting there in fourth, won the second race of the day, but of course a bit of a mediocre result in the first one is what put him down the order here. And then, you know, as much as we put René Oosterkamp on a pedestal, I feel like maybe the pressure is getting into him a little bit, and maybe we should back off instead of talking about his reputation so much. Because look at that, second, and yet again, a disastrous second race. 19th means he only gets 5th best points of the day, Bill.
Two-time champion. I think he can probably handle the pressure. Of course, his teammate Patrick Kessler, the defending champion. Let's go ahead and look at the driver standings. You see him right there. The point leader is winless. In fact, his best result for Lubomir Morris was a third in the Oulton Park feature. But like Joe said, consistency, not only best of day, but all through the whole season, has the positive SimRacing green driver at the top. Poor result in the third round drops SimRC's retro driver Stefan Herman down in the second. After missing the opening round, two-time champion, we talked about it, René Oosterkamp is in third. His teammate and defending champ Patrick Kessler won at Oulton Park feature. He sits in the fourth position there. And Finland's Valtteri Alander returns to the overlay in the top 5 for Glacier Racing. Let's go to the team championships, where first and second swap spots with third and fourth. For the season opener, we've been telling you that the viewers to keep an eye on positive SimRacing green, and sure enough, Lubomir Morris and his teammate Alexei Sorokin, well, their team is at the top. Honestly, it might be fool's gold, though, because René Oosterkamp and Patrick Kessler are just 2 points back for SimRC, and keep in mind that both those drivers missed the season opener. Drop races also count in the team championships. The two Germans, Stefan Herman and Simon Grossman, fall from the lead down to third for SimRC. It's a familiar story for AOR Orange, like Clark Kent and Superman Phil Reed and Kerry Nolden are never seen at the top of the timing and scoring at the same time. One man on a glacier, a sad image, and sadly, Valtteri Alander will be hard-pressed to keep his team on the overlay without help from a teammate. All right, there you have it. We've talked about the points. We've gone over the track, talked about best today. Let's get to what the series details are, Joe.
Absolutely. Once again, we're in a doubleheader today. This is round 4. We're now a third of the way into the season. You can see they do get 3 drop weeks to deal with. So a little bit less than what the official racing offers you. Still enough that you can afford a few bad weekends. Today's doubleheader has a 40 and a 25-minute race. The setups are open in this car, and I found that the setups probably make a pretty big difference because I found I could not get to the pace of the drivers around me, and I didn't really search or tweak very hard on that setup to try and find pace. Now, there are no fast repairs for these guys, which means if they damage the car, they're going to have to come into the pits and try and get that repaired, lose time sitting there before they go out, and also have to deal with it if it doesn't repair fully. That said, let's go to this specific race details. We mentioned the 2 different times. This one, the 40-minute race for the feature. The grid is set by their qualifying time. That's what we mean by sequential. And there is one pit stop that is required. They have to take at least 2 tires. Pretty much everybody has been electing to take 4 since there's no penalty for that extra time. The incident cap is at 15, which means if drivers run into one another or a wall or have a spin or have an off track, they rack up a certain amount of incident points. Once they hit 15 of those, they are disqualified on the spot. Now, the points, this is important. We keep talking about this in the championship. This race is worth so much more. It's definitely the important one to try and have a good result here. 32 for win, and you get 1 point all the way down to 20th. And not only is it worth the points to have the good result, but look at that. The sprint race is going to be re-grid by the top 20 being inverted. That's if they finish within 2 laps of the leader, Bill.
Yeah, with a large enough track here at Phillip Island, I think we'll probably get 20 guys at least, no more than 1 lap down. Let's go ahead. Qualifying going on. Familiar names at the top. It's those SimRC boys, Kessler and Oosterkamp, up there 1-2 right now.
Yeah, no surprises there. Grossman and Nolden also having a pretty good day here in qualifying as they're just about halfway through it right now. A Lander down in 7th, though. We're used to seeing him having a little bit better results, even though this still shows improvement over his previous seasons. So I wonder if he's got something a little bit more, considering he's only done 2 laps out here in qualifying.
We take a look at car number 22, currently in 6th position. This is a new name. I'm showing him as Alfredo Malo going on. Right now sitting in 6th. Not familiar with him. Welcome to the series.
Yeah, and his time looks very, very close to what he was able to achieve in the warm-up already here in practice with only 2 laps in himself. Less than a 10th off, and he just gets bumped now as I think, was that Reed moving up?
Phil Reed, yep. Reed jumped up into 2nd, but he wasn't there long because Simon Grossman moved up onto the pole.
Interesting stuff happening as drivers shuffle around. Let's see what Alfredo can do on his 3rd lap. I think the car gets just a little bit faster as you go, depending on if you've got a specific qualifying setup. The setup I was using, I found, had to kind of come in a little bit. Those tires had to get up to temperature to really give you the grip, and you can see he does improve a little bit. Yeah, moves himself into 7th.
Hey, and down in 8th position, here's a driver we haven't talked much about. We're looking at Rene Oskamp. How about the 350 car of Charlie Summers? Good to see Charlie is racing with us here. Always very competitive.
Yeah, I think he just out-qualified Stefan Herman last time by. That puts him up to 8th. You were talking about managing to get 20 cars around here on the lead lap. I don't think that's going to be as big a worry as lap traffic here, Bill, because we do have a pretty big field. I think we're up to 30-some drivers, and that might not sound like a huge grid, but as the 40 minutes goes on, you're going to start running into traffic, and that could play a part in drivers getting caught up, especially if they don't get them in one of the sections where you're flat to the floor for most of it.
And Joe, the way that this series hands out penalties, they just don't let people qualify for the feature. I look down there, I see a couple big names yet to put in times down there. Luke Barden and Matty Sippola. I'm not sure if that is because they just haven't gone out there yet to run their laps, or if they are indeed serving a penalty.
Matty's going to have to get out there like right now if he is going to go out there, because you've got to do your warm-up lap, and that will count, but those are about 1:30, which is not competitive considering we're hitting 124 and 125. So he needs one good fast lap in, and he's running out of time.
Good news for them. Even if they do have to serve that penalty, they start from the back. They don't need to win if they can just get what Joe talked about, inside the top 20, get regrid, and turn your day around with a good sprint race. Looks like we're looking at one more driver. Here's David Boutelard, the French driver, trying to put in a time. He's currently down in 23rd.
Yeah, let's see. He's got 3 laps in. This one, as he crosses the line, can it improve under 25 flat? And nope. I'm not, no, looks like it didn't count maybe.
Sarah Dove not doing really great in qualifying right now, sitting 29th. Let's see if she can improve as she comes across the line. And she moves up a couple spots.
Oh, we're going to watch Morris, but he's elected to come on into the pits. So a number of drivers feeling like they can't get anything else out of it here in the dying stages. 8th for Charlie Summers at the moment at a 24.5. He's about 0.3 off our pole sitter. That's how tight it is up there right now, Bill.
Coming to the line, Charlie Summers was 8th, and that's where he's going to stay. Kerry Nolden maybe got a chance here at putting one in.
And the reason,
nope.
Yeah, Nolden's going to head into the pits. And the reason that we saw some drivers seem like their laps didn't count, those drivers are just outrunning laps. I forgot that we're limited to 3 laps here in the qualifying. So once they got those 3, the rest of them don't get scored.
Well, with qualifying done and we have a standing start in a fairly large field, I think we can probably safe to go to the grid right now. And on the pole, it's the German driver, Simon Grossman. He's going to be inside of Patrick Kessler, Phil Reed, and René Oskamp, Phillip, row 2. Kerry Nolden, he's going to be in the 5th spot, flanked by Vitaria Lander. The rookie, Alfredo Malo, in 7th. Charlie Summers outside of him in row 5. It's Stefan Herman and Josh Schlad. Joe?
Leonard Sherry starts in 11th with Christopher Rigby in 12th and Jordan McDonald starting in 13th. Then it's Ali Hay in the 14th position, flanked by Alexei Sorokin. Jiri Mojak is going to be starting 16th with Knut Martinsen in 17th and Alain Tessier in 18th. And Lubomir Morris might be leading the points, but look at this, 19th position at the start. And Luca Verani will be 20th.
Home cooking for the Blackjack Magician, Scott Newton in 21st, a double duck spot for Evan Emre, David Boutilar, and Daniel Morris in the next row. David Santana sits in the quarter-century mark inside of Sarah Dove, Urka Lindstrom, Stuart Milne, Nathan Clark, Gianni Salito in the 30 spot. And I'll just round out these last three that didn't put in time. Luke Barden, Matty Sipla, keep an eye on them, they'll be fast, and Thomas Edwards. 33 drivers on the grid, 30 of them put in qualifying times. We'll give you the weather here in just a minute once they get the race underway. We don't want to have that up there as they start to go green. Oh, we have time. Let's take a look at the weather, Joe.
Yeah, just about 27 degrees on track, which translates to 80 degrees. So pretty good temperatures, actually. This track is going to have quite a bit of grip, but look at the wind. You got to pay attention to that and how that's going to affect you in certain corners.
Still waiting for Phil Reed to take his spot. Clearly, he's wants to make sure that the commentators get their GSRC bonus for getting through all the field. We've done that. We've talked about the weather, and now it's time to go racing. It is round number 4 of 12 here in Apex Online Racing's Formula No. It's season 11. We have 2 races on the docket today. We start with the 40-minute feature. Look for a pit stop in this one. Joe told you all about it. Look at those cars lined up in a nice bright string of cars underneath this Australian sun. Engines start to harmonize. Gather up the chicken steak covering on the cows. The horses are indeed out of the barn. It is Simon Grossman. Now he's in the SimRC Retro machine. He's being chased by Patrick Kessler, his cousin teammate. Look into the inside is Phil Reed. Careful, Phil. 4th and 5th, Kerry Nolden and Osterkamp.
We got a car off. This is dangerous because they tend to slide back on, and it looks like he's able to get it back, but we've also got Leonard Sherry way off on the outside of the southern loop along with another car, so some drivers are going to have some work to do here at the start.
And one car going off, it was Evan Emre. He was racing fairly well. He falls way back to the back of the field. Meanwhile, up front, it is still Grossman, Kessler, Nolden, Reed, Summers now up into 5th as he's going around the outside of Oskam. Look at that battle for 5th.
And I can report towards the back, Bill, it was a lot better than I anticipated heading into Honda. That corner tends to really have problems on the first lap with everybody checking up, but I didn't see anybody wrecked in there.
Summers, Charlie Summers does go up into 5th, picks up 3 spots, started in 8th. Another car in Boutilar had an issue early on.
Ooh, and Osterkamp nearly lost it coming out of MG. He got absolutely dive-bombed by Valtteri Lander, and Osterkamp's actually coming in. I think they're allowed to pit on the first lap if they choose to.
I believe so. Maybe he wants to get out of the mess. I can report when Boutilar got out, he got into our points leader, Lubomir Morris. Morris got a little clipping him as it went by. Not sure how healthy Morris' car is right now. Osterkamp doing the early peel, late reveal, though, Joe.
Oh, look at this battle that we've got for 6. It's the Lander and Alfredo, the newcomer. Alfredo's going to have the inside, and he gets the better shot off the corner. That's the more important thing there in the southern loop, is to get the momentum. But look at the draft already helping.
And just ahead of them, Charlie Summers picks up another spot going around Phil Reed. Summers now up to 4th and coming.
This is some aggressive fighting here at the start, Bill. Drivers are making some very, very late moves on these corners, and I'm kind of afraid it's going to go south for somebody at some point here.
Yeah, our front 4 race pretty well behaved. The real mess is back there in 5th position. And here we go right now. Look at this going on. This is Mallow. Now on the outside of him, trying to make the pass is a Lander. A Lander almost gets chased down by Hernandez. Oh my goodness.
Was that going around the outside?
Yeah. That's Herman, the Josh Ladd making a move.
Yeah, Ladd, I don't know if it was making a move or just suddenly discovered he was braking way later than everybody else and had to take evasive action. The Lander's going to get another bite at this. Man, these two have been side by side more than they have single file this lap.
Yeah, you're looking at the action. The front five, we don't need to go there. It's Grossman, and right now a pass is being made for second. Nolden moves around Kessler, but it's very tame. Summers in fourth, Reed in fifth.
Two cars off. That's Josh Ladd and Jordan McDonald. Ladd completely goes across the track. How did he not hit anybody? Oh, and that's Knut Martinson. We just saw turned completely over in that mess.
McDonald and Ladd got together.
We're going to watch Kmart's view. After that, can we get an onboard? I'm trying to see who he flew in front of. Christopher Rigby had a front row view of a car just screaming across his bow. This is Kmart. I think he just got put off by that accident and he slipped to the inside and unfortunately found where the marshal's stand was. Looks like we won't get a view of Rigby's.
So now you're going to see it's still Grossman. He's going to be scored. Timing and scoring going to show him in third. All these are going to be a little bit off until the guys who took the tow get sorted out. Grossman, Nolden now up into second.
When this promotes a Lander to third, which won't be for long because here comes Malo. Going to see a lot of this today, Bill. It's the slipstream on that front stretch really makes this almost like a Road America type race where guys are just going to be swapping positions back and forth, not really fighting too hard once they hit that pit straight.
Yeah, the name that's missing out of there is...
Sorry, big incident. Another one with Christopher Rigby and Scott Newton. This was in the Southern Loop, and I think it started with Rigby. Ooh, he got a little help. This was Charlie Summers. Just taps the back of him, and the car is so hard to control because you're on the limit at this portion. You can see just the littlest of touches turns him around. And what happens is Christopher tries to get out of the way, and you can see he just gets slammed by the car of Summers.
Yeah, what we
Newton,
missed.
Excuse me.
What we missed during all of that talk going on was Charlie Summers and Patrick Kessler. They were racing up front. They got together on lap 3. It was a while ago. I doubt if we're going to be able to go back and find it. But that was a big news up there because Kessler was running up front and so was Summers.
All right, so Rigby slots down the order after he has to take a tow. This is a bad day for him. You know, a driver we always seem to watch, and today we really should. Sarah Dove has gone from 26th to 11th, Bill. And we're 4 laps into this thing? 5 laps in.
Yeah, and I can also report that Phil Reed to take evasive action. This was big because these guys were all racing up front. Reed, Summers, and Kessler got together. They spun. Kessler and Summers got together. Reed had to take evasive action. Reed has now fallen back into 6th position. He was racing up front.
Yeah, he's having a great battle with Ali Hay, which he just overtook in the Honda as we ride on board with Sarah here. And so Reed's got his work cut out for him, but he does have one more car close up, Charlie Summers, who he said he slipped off with. Let's see if he chooses to try and fight him again, or maybe just tail end Charlie him up through the field.
Scott Newton is in the pits. Not sure if this is scheduled or not. Getting a little home cooking, the Australian driver. Right on board with Reed.
Remember, Newton made that hard contact with... who was the other driver? Excuse me.
Well, there were plenty.
Yeah. My mind is already blanking because there were so many. But yeah, in the Southern Loop, he hit someone.
We're looking there. I think we look there at Summers in that battle with Reed. Those guys were racing up front. Summers had the off. Contact with Kessler. Reed avoided it. They're racing back there in 6th. The big surprise is the rookie Alfredo Malo right behind Stefan Herman, racing in 4th position.
He's going to be one to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He's still working on Herman as they come through. Honda hasn't really been making a lot of moves, just kind of waiting patiently behind him.
Look off the rear tire of Herman. Don't need to go there. I can report that Matty Sipla, he's always interesting to watch. Remember, he had to start way in the back. He's only got up to 27th. Really hasn't made up a ton of time. We'll take a look at 9th position now, Joe.
Yeah, this is Santana fending off Tessier and Sarah Dove. So Dove could yet get more positions. And actually, wow, look at her gain up through Lukey Heights. That is a corner where the driver really makes a difference, Bill, because if you're brave enough and you know where the grip is, you can carry so much more speed than the cars around you. Osterkamp continuing to slice his way through. He's got to be careful with these slower cars, Bill. But he makes good work of Jerry Mojak.
Leader of that
Renee is right now Renee is the highest pitter. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, at the front of this, in about 17th position, is Thomas Edwards. Right behind him, it's Ferrani. Then Osterkamp and Solito.
I wondered about this stop. I knew he would have to go through a lot of cars because he would have to bank on a lot of people pitting early to not get caught up. So I don't know if Renee really is going to have a quicker time doing what he's doing now than if he had waited to pit.
It could just be a risk versus reward type thing. He was in such a hornet's nest that maybe just decided it's easier just to take these guys one at a time than, oh my goodness, as he almost gets together as he goes underneath Luca Verani, and in fact he can't finish it. Well, he is really stuck. That's Verani in front of him and Thomas Edwards.
And loses grip off of Honda to boot. This is what I was talking about, Bill.
Yeah.
It's these guys might be having their own battles, and generally when you have to pass more cars instead of just running your own pace, that slows you down too. Let's see what he can do up to Lukey Heights. Oh, he's going to stick his nose in.
Boy, I want to get this settled. Boy, Verani decides I don't want to go too wide through there. Nice move. He backs out of it. Oh, boy. He got it off.
Whoa! Behind them, Giovanni Solito was way off course. I thought he was going to plow into them, but thankfully arrived there a few seconds too late.
Yeah, there was no slowing him down when he was on the grass. Now here comes Osterkamp making the move.
All right, that's 2 more done for Osterkamp. Next up the road, though, it's another 8 seconds, Bill. But this could be good. I keep talking about that clear air. That's what Osterkamp wants right now, to start to rifle off some fast laps by himself.
32.2 is the interval between Osterkamp and Simon Grossman out in front.
Alfredo and Charlie. And a nice little fight. Now, remember, Malo was fighting with Herman before, but he's dropped off. Oh, I think, wow, brave stuff from Summers. He's getting aggressive.
Well, Summers have been aggressive from the beginning. He started in 8th, worked his way all the way up to 4th before he had an issue, went back, and is now working his way through. He's passed more cars than anybody, probably.
Well, this is causing them to lose ground on Herman quite quickly. Number 22 has a mirror full of number 350, and that's going to change in a second. Oh, man, he got that awful close.
Sure did. Malo put the car in the middle, left him either way. Summers goes down underneath, will have the advantage into 1, move him up into 4th.
You got to be really careful with that, Bill, because it's so easy to clip the car ahead if you try and cut that draft too close. And you said at the start of the broadcast, the stewards aren't shy about handing out penalties, and they're not going to take kindly if you just suddenly clip somebody and take them out in the middle of a straightaway. Sounds like we got a battle between Dove and Santana.
Dove having a nice run up from 26th position into 11th. Let's see if she can bring it home. David Santana, about the same thing. Both these guys, actually, Santana was in 25th, Dove in 26th. They just kind of followed each other through the field.
It's interesting to see because Sarah hasn't been too bad on qualifying this year, but with only the 3 laps, she must have maybe botched each one of them in some way that put her so far down the order. We talked about how close the lap times were. That's how it was through the whole field. It's the only explanation I can think of because her pace right now shows that she really should have been close to the top 10 in qualifying.
Remember, there's a couple drivers who have pitted. Both of the SimRC guys have come in, Osterkamp and Kessler. Osterkamp about 32 seconds behind the leader, Kessler about 37. So Patrick's still in the mix.
Tell you what, the important thing for our leaders, Bill, is the gaps that they've started to stretch out. I've talked about the draft. Grossman, Nolden, and Herman have all got their own little bit of racetrack. They don't have to worry about each other swapping back and forth like so much of the other grid is, like here we see with Clark and Barton. Excuse me, Milne and Clark, rather. So right now, our top three have got an ideal situation. They can just run their own race.
You mentioned Barton, though. Luke is now up in 14th. He was one of those drivers like Sipla who had to start from the back. 31st to 14th. Keep an eye on Luke. He's faster than that 14th position would indicate.
Got some really cool hands right now. Our director got that one, at least. Really, the closest fight we have up at the top is between 3rd, 4th, 5th, and actually now 6th, because Phil Reed coming to the back of these guys.
Phil Reed. Now, I really think Summers is the guy on the move, though. Summers has, remember, he got around Malo, and now he has chased down Stefan Herman. I think he's fast. Summers looking to get to that podium spot.
Yeah, he's been having a hard time with it. Now that he's gotten past Alfredo, let's see if he's more decisive than Malo is. Yeah, but he's on the wrong side of the track heading up to the southern loop. Or is he? He's going to try. Yeah, I was going to say that this is an off-camber corner with a late apex. Coming around the outside is that's a pretty tall ask, Bill.
But now Herman's there. Watch the sleeve. He makes a dive down into Honda. He does. He's got a good run through Stoner. He's side by side. I think Charlie's going to dive it in there deeper. He's confident with his braking. He gets it woed up and move him into 3rd. A guy to watch, Charlie Summers.
Absolutely. But what surprises me about that is Herman didn't cover it off. And Herman's no fool. He's a fast driver and a clever driver. He knows that you really want the inside into Honda, but he didn't cover him off immediately. And that's what let him slip in.
3.6 seconds between Nolden in 2nd and Summers in 3rd. We'll see if that closes.
Don't lose too much time to Malo behind them with that fight. Malo is within the slipstream. Let's see what he can do on the front stretch.
Sarah Dove just had an off. Was it this? Yeah, it just happened just a little bit while ago. We want to get this one if we can. She's now in 14th position. She was racing in 11th at the time.
Looks like about 50 seconds ago for Sarah. This was out of Honda. Let's see if we've got the replay here. Should be into Honda corner. Yeah, well, we're heading through Stoner right now. So what she did here, Bill, is you'll see the left rear tire just get off into the dirt. And you're in low gears coming off of this hairpin. You really want to mash the gas. That's why it just snapped on her so quickly. There's a lot of torque there at the bottom end.
And once again, she's quick. Got to get the car to the end without a mistake has been her issue now.
Third place will not settle down. Herman's not letting him go easily.
Summers not making up much time to Nolden, though. That's holding steady about 3.5 seconds. Just a tick under that. We ride back.
Big mistake from Summers, though. We didn't see it on screen, but he almost outbraked himself into MG, had to collect the car as it nearly went around, and that's put Herman right on his gearbox. Look at him go.
He's going to get him out of Swan. This thing's a done deal. The pass is made before the start-finish line. In fact, he may have actually got there too quick as he loses all his momentum. Now, Summers can defend going into 1. Look at the hole. It's punching for Malo if he wants it. Malo's going to try to tuck each underneath. Herman thinks better of it. They race in the same order they were before.
Yeah, he had no place to stick that nose, and he wants to make it to the end, like you said. So that was a great call by Alfredo. He'll get another bite right here coming up to Stoner and Honda.
And in the mix now, that has brought Phil Reed back in 6th in there as well. Summers takes the wide entry through Honda. Herman defends.
Oh, but look at what that did to Malo. Phil Reed has just been watching this the whole time, probably grinning ear to ear, saying, you guys just keep fighting. It keeps letting me get closer and closer, but once again, third up for grabs.
Get it sorted out before you get up to Lukey Heights. Careful, boys. Look at Summers is great under braking. The momentum is lost by Herman, so Malo dives underneath. Reed wants part of this too. He cannot.
I think there was ghost contact between Herman and Malo. Herman gave him just enough space to the inside, but then his car, either he reacted to try and move out of the way, or they actually touched because there was a sudden jerk to the right from Stefan.
The guy they're running up now is the last car on the lead lap, Thomas Edward. Actually, he's a lap down already. Oh, because he's been lapped by the leaders. Let's stay on this battle for third. Summers, Malo, Herman, Reed.
They're driving more like this is the sprint race, Bill. This is really hard fighting for the feature. We're only halfway through, and none of them have elected to take a pit stop yet, which surprises me.
They're going to catch Edwards right going into Honda. Let's see what kind of line Edwards takes. Stay to the outside. One goes by. That's going to work. Two goes by. You can't go too wide behind. Herman got passed by Reed, got underneath him going into Honda, so Reed now up into fifth.
Out of Siberia, across the top of the hill now. This train just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
All this going on behind Nolden, who's now opened it up to 4.3 seconds in second ahead of the driver in third, which is currently Summers for now. Simon Grossman leading the entire field.
Somebody's got to peel off here, and no one does. Now is the time that you want to get away from this fighting. There's enough cars stretched out behind who won't be caught in traffic as much, hopefully. And Herman's going to give a try at Reed again.
Reed takes a defensive line. That's not going to work. I really think Herman might be the fastest car out of, well, maybe Summers is pretty quick, but he's certainly competitive. He's being held up now back where he is.
Yeah, but Herman might have had that contact, and I kind of wonder, because he didn't really make inroads on Reed on the straight. I wonder if he's got damage and he's slow in a straight line now. Two stories we've been watching are going to intersect in the near future. René Oosterkamp, currently sitting in 14th with his pit stop done, is approaching Sarah Dove up next, about 5 seconds up the road.
Oosterkamp about 32 seconds behind the leader. I think that bogey time's a little bit too big. We expect to be close to Grossman.
There we see Oosterkamp. He's had quite a bit of clear track for a while now. This is going to mean that he could try to make up time. Oh, and Alfredo just had contact with Charlie Summers. This was coming up through Lukey Heights. They both were able to continue, but this looked a lot like what we saw earlier with Herman making contact as we look at the replay.
Yeah, well, it's Malo trying to put the car really where he's trying to go too wide through Lukey Heights on the outside.
Yeah, this is another case of cars trying to pinch down. Oof. Very lucky he didn't go into the grass, because we saw what happened with Giletto earlier, that you just go for a ride. Now, Phil Reed and Summers have both pitted during that replay.
That's a smart move. Now they're rolling. Let's see where they come in relationship to Oosterkamp. Oosterkamp is going by start-finish right now.
It's going to be just behind Reed, because Reed is now up to speed. Oh, actually, I take that back. He's close. He's close. He's going to look for it.
Got him.
Wow. A 10th less, Bill, in the stall, and Phil Reed. Oh, no, and there goes Oosterkamp. Well, never mind what I was about to just say, because it didn't matter anyways.
So Reed comes out in 11th. 12th for Oosterkamp. I have a hunch that maybe there was some damage that Summers had to repair, because Summers is way back.
All right, back in 8th position, Barton and Clark. These are two drivers who have not pitted yet. They're just behind Santana.
Barton is the driver who was serving that penalty, started last. So he's been working his way through the field. Just want to report that sure enough, Summers took a pit stop. He was in the box for 21 seconds. That compares to about 7 or 8 seconds for a normal stop for everybody else. So either a speeding penalty or repairs.
That's at 6 to 7 seconds for a normal stop. 21, that sounds like a speeding penalty to me. 15-second stop and hold. Drivers will try to be aggressive on that pit entry, but it can bite you both with just running off, Bill, or potentially getting in too hot. Meanwhile, third place continued to swap back and forth. Herman and Malo change positions on the front stretch.
Yeah, I think these guys have got to get their act together and get a little pace going on. Otherwise, Phil Reed out there racing by himself is going to find himself ahead of him when the pit stops are done.
The one who I think is sitting pretty right now is Simon Grossman. Even though he's got Kerry Nolden within about a second of him, it's going to take a big mistake or maybe some traffic during the pit stops for Nolden to try and jump him. It's close, but not close enough to really make Simon sweat. Right now, the number 46, I think, is the most likely to win. It's his race to lose.
Earlier this lap, Luke Barton, who was making his way through the field, had an off. He lost several positions, now back to 9th. Let's look at him in 9th. And actually, the driver in, oh boy, it's 28th position. I thought it was right behind him, is Alex Sorokin. Haven't heard much from the Russian in 28th. He is well down the order, one lap down.
I think Alex was involved in an early incident in this race. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure that he was one of the drivers that ran into trouble somehow.
Well, the point being, he's on the top team right now, and Lubomir Morris not having a good result. It'll be hard for them to stay up where they are.
Just waiting on a bunch of the front runners to pit at this point, because I was just starting to look through and try to figure out who was sitting on the regrid number 20, but really not going to know for another few laps here. Two drivers who have pitted, 16th and 17th, Sherry and Summers.
Summers is going to be, oh, Charlie really working it. Remember, Summers is back farther than he would be because of the speeding penalty or the repairs. Just ahead of Knut Martinson, but Knut's a lap down.
Yeah, he's just waiting patiently for these guys to sort themselves out. He's not racing anybody. Oh, our leader's in. Grossman has a good stop, 6.4, and he is going to return out easily ahead of Phil Reed.
Nolden stays out, and Nolden had got the gap to under a second. He was right behind the leader. Now Nolden's coming up on Luca Verani. We'll see if Kerry comes in this time or if he wants to go around one more time.
And that might sound counterintuitive for him to pit when Nolden's getting closer. But the thing is, because that draft is so powerful in a few places, Bill, I actually think this is a smart move from Grossman. He's trying to get out there before Nolden can really ride his coattails, because once Nolden has that draft, he's just going to close right in, and it'll go from 0.8 of a second to 0.2 to swapping positions.
Right. You're looking at Nolden. Now, the car ahead of him is Luca Verani. He's in 25th. He is last car on the lead lap.
Nolden decides not to come in. Interesting. Maybe going to try to use Luca to get a little bit extra slingshot here.
And your leader goes by. So the interval from Nolden back to the guy we're looking at about Grossman is so. About. Well, no, that's Herman. I'm looking to see where Grossman is.
Oh, I see. I was looking at Grossman to next car.
Grossman coming across the line right now, so we now can give you the time at the line. 25.
Well, how far was Osterkamp to Reed when Reed pitted. We knew what he was to the leader, which was 30-some seconds. Luke Barton has been in and out.
Nolden's got this clear track in front of him. I think he's going to stay out there, and the car's a little lighter. He doesn't have the fuel in it. Maybe it's faster.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. So things working out in Nolden's favor no matter what. He almost essentially forced Grossman's card to pit for the reasons that I said. And actually, here comes Nolden now.
Grossman is just going up into Lukey Heights. Nolden, you see him coming down pit lane.
They're all coming in. Herman's in. Oh, Malo's in.
Grossman into the MG corner. That's that one at the bottom of the hill. Now he's full throttle, working his way to Swan.
Nolden's in his pit stall.
Goes up, takes the mandatory tire change.
Good stop for him.
Grossman is on the main straight. Grossman crossing the start-finish line now.
This is going to be awful tight.
He's going to get him. He's going to blow by him. There it is. Grossman out in front and pulling away.
But the difference between them, remember, it was just about a second. It is now 0.6 between them, Bill. That's 0.4 knocked off, and he is easily within the draft. As long as Nolden doesn't make a mistake, next time they come to the front stretch, you can expect him to reach the gearbox of Simon. Herman and Reed have returned to their battle.
We don't need to go there.
That's Soletto, who had an off-track right ahead of him, and that is kicking off the battle between them.
Reed now with a run. He's going to be on the outside. Now he gets it as they head down up into Lukey Heights. Reed gets ahead of Herman. I should report that our second place driver right now is David Santana. Well, actually, maybe we talk about the leaders here. It's Vitaria Lander and David Santana. Yeah, they still need to come in.
Only other driver yet to pit is Emre. They do have a couple more laps. Again, if you're not familiar with the rules, they can pit all the way until the final lap. They have to pit one lap before the checkers if they're going to pit.
Rolling Thunder making his stop. So basically that's everybody except the guys out there in first and second. Let's go to our driver in third. Let's go to Simon Grossman right now. He's coming up around Thomas Edwards. Remember, he's being chased by Nolden. Nolden gets stuck behind Edwards, though, through Honda.
Still holding at about 0.8, so he's lost a little time, and this is not helping. This is what I talked about earlier, Bill, is it matters where you catch traffic. See, here they're nice and flat out. If you would have caught him just, a few seconds later in this section, he could have just passed him without being held up. But because he was in that back and forth between Honda and Siberia, there's very little place for the lap driver to go to try and get out of the way.
But it's a give and take thing. Simon Grossman makes up a little ground now, but now he's going to have to work on David Santana, the driver in second. Santana yet to pit. Qualified in 25th, so he's not really got the pace to give Grossman too much trouble.
Let's see. How are we looking with the rest of them? Well, Herman and Reed are swapping spots again, and they are nowhere close to trying hassling the top two.
We talked about that AOR orange team of Nolden and Reed not able to get good results at the same time. Not the case today. Nolden having a good run, as is Phil Reed. That's going to help them out.
So which one is Superman? Which one's Clark Kent?
We'll have to ask them. Summers has worked his way around Sherry. Summers should be leaving him behind. The next one for him will be, well, Patrick Kessler. That'll be a hard ass to get there.
These guys pretty much close to where they started. The driver really, so far, of the top ones that's made a great charge, I'd say, is Daniel Morris. He's just behind them, 24th to 12th, Bill.
Yeah, and that's real. And that'll actually be a little more when those two guys up front decide to finally come in.
Oh. And Simon Grossman, did he just... Something was happening with Santana?
Yeah, well, Santana, there were one of those two drivers that were up there. Santana finally came in. So Grossman goes around him. He's not going to have to worry about that. Santana will cycle out somewhere, I would think, outside the top 10.
Yep, looks like I'm saying about 17th for Santana when he returns.
So the last one is Vitaly Lander, and he can stay out there with 6 minutes to go. Another probably 2 or 3 laps before we get
somewhere
to
around
that
there.
white flag.
I was one off. Santana returns in 16th.
So Grossman up by about 0.6 of a second on Nolan. That's going to be the battle for the lead. Then we drop back a little bit. Let's look at Phil Reed, currently in 4th. Reed's in a 3-car battle here with Stefan Herman and Rene Oosterkamp. Those guys battle. Currently, it says 4th, 5th, and 6th. It's really going to be 3rd, 4th, and 5th once we get a Lander out of the mix.
So despite all my doomsaying with the traffic that Rene ran into, he qualified in 4th. He did get swamped a little bit at the start, but once Valtteri pits, like you said, he'll be in 5th place. So that's only a 1 position lost. And actually, with these two right in front of him, he could easily gain 2 more right here and be 1 up. And Lander's in.
The leader is in, so Grossman goes by. Now he inherits the lead like he should. Nolan been following him the whole race, but look at this, what we have on screen. This is where the battle is. Herman and Reed, Oosterkamp, and Malo is also in the mix now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If they... Oh! Who was that?
That
was Edward.
Thomas. Boy, he has been having lead cars go around him all the time. He spun right in front of those guys.
And Stefan Herman is the one. He was leading the train. He gets the worst of it because he came upon it first. Let's watch the replay, Bill. I mean, he did the right thing. He tried to keep the car whole and just took evasive action off into the gravel, but it cost him all of those positions he was fighting for.
Yep.
This is what we talk about when we say, you know, the racing gods will occasionally smile upon you and sometimes they won't. And actually, after that happened, out of Honda, he had a half spin and he lost a couple more spots.
And also, Oosterkamp had to take evasive action as well, so that allowed Alfredo Malo to get around Oosterkamp. So Malo now up into 4th. So it was a 4-car battle. It's now 3 with Reed, Malo, and Oosterkamp.
You know, so much for me being the driver expert. I thought for sure Nolden was close enough that it would be a breeze for him to chase down Grossman. But that gap has stretched back up to about a second. Simon is showing no signs of letting him catch him.
With just under 4 minutes to go, we do have time to talk about the Dos Equis position. Evan Imre back there in 20th. He's in good spot right now. He has nobody around him. He's safe bet to get on the front row of the sprint race. The guy just outside, Yuri Mojak in 21st. Yuri needs some type of calamity to happen to some of the guys in front of him.
Now, just before we went to this shot of Evan, we were watching that fight for 3rd, which is really the best battle. And we've only got 3 minutes to go. I almost want to keep our eyes up here in case something happens, because those spidey senses, Bill.
Yep. We'll definitely stay watching it, especially since we don't know much of Malo up into 3rd, like you talked about.
Boy, Oosterkamp.
Malo, Malo got loose there, and that's going to open it up for Reed if he wants it.
You'd think at the bottom of the hill the car would have all kinds of grip and it'd be easy to power off it, but that corner is so tough to get the car to go because you're actually changing directions. And here we go. Looks like Reed's going to take him on the straight. And are we going to have a 2-for-1 for the car behind?
So.
Nope.
No. Osterkamp decides. That's some big picture thinking there. He could have ducked it in there and tried for that spot.
Yeah.
Just get him on the next lap.
Yeah, I think Renee's just sizing him up right now. I think he's getting a sense of how much speed he gains by sitting in that slipstream with them to know just how far back he can be to try and overtake them on that straight.
Grossman's still up by a second on Nolden. Looks like Nolden has nothing for him. This is where the action is right now.
Well, Bill, the Czechs may have accomplished a lot, but apparently not repairing their pedals well enough because Lubomir Morris is out because he had a malfunction with his. So next on their list, a Czech wheel and pedal maker.
She invents the sugar cube. I mean, where do you go? There's all down from there. Reed, Mallow, and Osterkamp racing third, fourth, fifth. I can report that a Lander cycled out in 15th position after leading. Evan Emre remains in the Dos Equis spot. Yuri Mojak just outside the regrid position. Here comes a pass.
Mallow is going to get by him. White flag is out, so this is their last opportunity, Bill. Also, I know you're not going to count it for him, but Matty Sipola, 32nd to 10th.
Almost counts when you have to serve a penalty. I think that one should almost work. Sipola had a good run. Watch for him in the sprint race. We continue to look at the battle for third. I think we better go up front, though, because now Grossman and Nolden, this has tightened up, and I think Nolden might have a shot at him here. He's only about 3 or 4 car lengths behind. Is there enough time out of Swan to get to him before the start-finish line? Well, he's got to be a lot closer than he is right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought the same thing all race, that Nolden, when he was about this far back, would just make easy meat of Grossman, but it seemed like he had a hard time. Let's see what he does here on the last lap.
Said he's about 3 car lengths back. They negotiate corner 11. Now it's full throttle from here. I just think Nolden's too far back. We're looking at round 4. The Apex Online Racing's Formula Renault 2.0 Season 11 Championship. The feature race goes to Simon Grossman. Kerry Nolden, try as he might, he's only going to have to get settled for second. Let's look at Reed.
It's
Reed
very
is being
close.
chased.
No, it's Mallow being chased. I think Reed's got it. At the line. Yep. Wow. Mallow in his first race missing out on a podium by 1/100th of a second, Bill.
Reed came out of the corner in 4th. He settles for 3rd. Osterkamp has to settle for 5th. Charlie Summers and Solito.
Sipola does get himself... Oh, actually, no, something happened to Sipola in that last lap. He was in 10th, and then he finished 15th in the end. Huh. Not sure what happened to him. Oh, he made a mistake on his own on the penultimate corner, and he ran into the wall and then had to... Oh, wow. He threw away what was going to be a phenomenal recovery. Granted, 32nd to 15th, still pretty good.
Fortunately, not far enough to fall outside of the top 20 for Yuri Mojak, who finishes in the blackjack position. That's where he'll start for the sprint race. Evan Emre gets 20th. Look for him to be on the pole inside of Scott Newton, who comes home 19th. All right, remember, this is a doubleheader, and the best part of any doubleheader is the break between the events. It's that perfect blend of the post-race high and the pre-race jitters. We're going to take a short break, but don't go far. We'll be back to talk to some of the drivers between the races, run down the entire finishing order, and then take another break to get all of our ducks in a row for the sprint race that'll come up. Don't go far. You don't need me to tell you because you hear that music and your ears alert your eyes. You know you're watching the Global Sim Racing channel. This is round 4 coverage of Apex Online Racing's Formula Renault 2.0 Season 11 Championship. We're here at Phillip Island. The feature race is in the books. Let's give you the finishing order right now. It was Simon Grossman. Wire to wire, not quite. He lost the lead for pit stops, and pretty much it's wire to wire. He gets the win. Chasing him the entire time was Kerry Nolan. Phil Reed had a little bit of contact, was able to salvage a podium there as he snaked Alfredo Malo, the rookie, for that final podium spot at the line. Renee Osterkamp rounds out your top 5. Stefan Herman, Patrick Kessler got together with Charlie Summers, still able to salvage 7 points. That's how you get yourself a championship. Summers has to settle for 8th. Leonard Sherry in the 9th position, rounding out your top 10. A very quiet run from Alon Chessier. Joe?
Daniel Morris going from 24th to 11th and one-upped by the driver behind him, Stuart Milne, from 28th to 12th. Then it's the reverse for the next car, Valtteri Alander from 6th to 13th. And not a good race for him. 31st to 14th for Luke Barton, another driver along with Matty Cipolla, 32nd to 15th, that had penalties, we believe, and had to start from the back. Nice climb by them. David Santana finishes 16th with Ali Hay 17th. Then it's Nathan Clark in P18 at the end of the day, and Scott Newton finishing at 19th. Evan Emre will start on the pole next to Scott.
Then we get down here to the guys finishing in 21st position. Yuri Mojak just outside the bubble. David Butlar, Sarah Dove, Luca Verani, Urka Lindstrom in 25th. Alexei Sorokin, boy, it's going to be a rough day for Positive Sim Racing Green as they come home. Sorokin in 26th and his teammate Lulu Morris in last. No points for them on this section. Giovanni Solito in 27th. Thomas Edwards 28th. 29th, Knut Martinson, the Orange Viking, just inside of Christopher Rigby. Then the final 3 guys, Josh Ladd, Jordan McDonald, we saw him have issues, and of course we talked about Lubomir Morris, our points leader, having trouble with his pedals. He comes home in 33rd. We do have somebody that we can talk to. I'm going to let Joe go ahead and talk to Luca Verani. Joe?
Absolutely. As we pull Luca in, he finished in 24th today, having qualified in 20th in the last car on the lead lap. Luca, is that kind of an accomplishment for you, making sure that you came home before the leaders came around to lap you?
Hi, guys. Sure, that's what I dream of. That's my goal. No, actually today I'm a little upset. I'm always ready to lift, give room, fall in line in the early laps. And then on lap 3, somebody thinks that it's a good idea to dive on my inside in Siberia, and the car in front spins, and I have no room to go. Somebody else hits me, and I have a car that is 2 seconds a lap slower. So I think there is no point really attacking a Siberia on lap 3. So people should maybe try to be a little more patient.
We noticed that at the start. We were really surprised at how aggressive drivers were to try and go on the attack in the feature, not even the sprint race. I mean, what do you attribute that to? Because it's not like it's difficult to pass with the slipstream on the front stretch here.
Yeah, I honestly have no idea. That's why I was surprised and a little pissed. There is no reason for that. I mean, Sarah, for instance, attacked me on the straight, and I just lived to let her go clean on turn 1. I'm very happy to do that. It's actually faster for everybody involved. So, yeah, really, Siberia is not a place to attack on lap 3.
So no regrid for you, unfortunately, in the sprint race. What's your goal there now that you know you're a little bit down the field?
Oh, well, I will just enjoy the show. I think I am dead last, so let's see what happens.
All right. Well, best of luck, Luca. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Have fun, guys.
Luca Verani. He's a fun interview, isn't he? I think he was expressing the opinions of a lot of the drivers in that feature race. That, boy, it was really aggressive early on in those first 2 or 3 laps.
No, it was, but it's going to probably be even worse than what we're going to see in a few minutes.
What we'll do right now is we'll take another short break. Don't go far. We'll get everything ready for the sprint race coming up shortly. Back in a few. Welcome back to the Global Sim Racing Channel's coverage of the AOR Formula Renault 2.0 Season 11 Championship. It's round 4 from Phillip Island. The feature race is in the books. We just went over the finishing order for you. Take a little break, and now it's time for the sprint race. Joe, how does this work?
Well, we mentioned it at the top of the show. This is a 25-minute race now for the second one. That's why they call it the sprint. That means that you cannot expect any pit stops to be scheduled. That doesn't mean cars might come in and try and get repairs. And I can expect a lot of cars to come in and get repairs, if I'm honest. They do invert the grid based on the results of the last one, like we said. So top 20 means Emre is going to be on the pole because he was not 2 laps down. Because it's a shorter race, they have lowered the incident cap a little bit. Now, we could see a few drivers run afoul of that because there are some places where you could run a little bit wide and start to rack those up. But honestly, I think you'll probably be done in by damage before that in most cases. Now, the points, because it's shorter, means it's only 20 for a win as opposed to 32. Now, sometimes I feel like drivers maybe put a little bit less emphasis on that, but I feel like that also hurts so many of them in the championship. You want to get a good result, you can only score down to 16th place for 1 point. So really, I think our drivers who've gotten regrid back to 20th bill should aim for maybe a top 5.
Yeah, we talk about seeing the elusive double. We haven't seen one of those for many a season. There are some names to watch out for, some big guys that were a little farther down the order than you might expect. Look for Cipolla. Matty's going to be fast. He's going to be gridded near the front. Luke Barton, another one to keep an eye on. He should be good. He had to work out that penalty as well. We'll see how it sorts out in a minute, but Rolling Thunder, Evan Emre, going to be on the pole. That's he's an experienced driver, and he knows how to race. He'll be tough to get around.
And he's won a sprint race before, so I wonder if maybe he could get his second one.
Let's take a peek of what the weather is. It's the same weather that we saw earlier, Joe.
Yep. 22 degrees air temperature, for those not familiar, is about 71 degrees. That's about what you want to aim for. Most people consider that just about ideal. Beautiful weather out there, especially with a nice little breeze that they got going. So for the virtual fans, a great day. For the race drivers, a pretty good day as well at about 80-degree track temperature. And about 3 minutes left to go here in our warm-up, which really doesn't mean as much in this sprint race build. At this point, since it is same conditions, they all know what to expect out there. At this point, it's about dealing with the drivers around you and less about dealing with the track.
Yeah, the race stewards just might want to replay Luca Varani's interview between events there to let the drivers know how to behave. Man, if the feature race is an indicator of what the early laps are going to be like here in the sprint race, we're in for a lot of excitement as the fast guys are going to be coming through.
Yeah, so if we get everybody coming back, we had 33 drivers, I believe it was, in the first round. My call, I'm going to say 21 see the finish line with the way they were driving in that first race.
I'd imagine everyone gets through one okay, through the southern loop all right. I think it's really going to bog up into Honda. That's that right-hand hairpin that comes out of corner 3 of Stoner. Then they head down in there, look for guys to start trying to sneak a few positions there.
I almost wonder if we'll see some of the drivers who were kind of in the middle of the pack that weren't re-grid maybe elect to start from the pit lane, because you're going to pick up positions pretty easily here. We've mentioned that before. You got the areas with the slipstream where you can try and get by. So with everybody getting checked up at the start and slowing each other down, if it was me, I think starting from the pit lane could allow you a good opportunity to catch everybody once the chaos is sorted out and just start picking them off bit by bit.
Not a horrible idea, because even if you're 21st, you're going to be right in the mess of it there. And you're probably going to be able to catch them by the time you get to Honda anyway, the way they're going to back up. We will see. Just a few minutes of practice going on. Our fastest practicer right now, Joe said it doesn't mean much, but it is a kind of indication of who's got their mind right. Matty Cipolla, I'm telling you, watch out for him to win this thing. As I say that, Lubomir Morris has a little spin.
Yeah, I think Cipolla's problem has been a lot of dealing with drivers who are aggressive. I don't really fault him too much so far this season, except for when he threw it away at the end of the sprint race at Olton last week. So Matty has a good chance, but he, I don't know. So far, his history this season really has not boded well for him.
It's always fun to get new drivers that we didn't know. Cipla's one of them. And then today we have another one, Alfredo Malo. He really put on quite a show, even though he got snaked out of that podium position by Phil Reed at the very end. Alfredo represented himself very well, getting that 4th position in the feature.
Yep, the marshmallow cream always rises to the top, Bill, and we're seeing that today. So we'll see if the Iberian can repeat with another good showing when he has to scythe through a whole bunch of cars.
Yeah, this is a bit of a learning experience. Might take a little bit of experience to get these figured out before you start to do well. There's Alfredo right there. We see with those fluorescent wheels.
Warm-up's about over. Get ready for some action, Bill.
We'll try to cover the best we can. We'll try not to jump around too much. There's going to be lots of replays to be involved. We'll do them sparingly so that we don't just give you a MTV music shortcut video here. Do they still play videos on MTV? I'm not. No? All right. Dated myself there, didn't I? Waiting for iRacing to populate the starting grid, and we will actually give that to you. And it comes up right now. There we go. On the pole, it's going to be Evan Inray inside of Scott Newton, Nathan Clark, and Alistair Hay. Phillip Row 2, David Santana, and Valentry Lander. Lander's going to be quick in 6th. Stuart Milne, Daniel Morris go 7th and 8th, 9th and 10th. Alon Tessier and Leonard Sherry. Joe?
In 11th, it is going to be Charlie Summers. He'll be followed by Patrick Kessler in 12th. Stefan Herman starts P13 with Renee Osterkamp in 14th. Then it's Alfredo Malo 15th and Phil Reed in P16. Row 9 is Kerry Nolden in 17th, Simon Grossman in 18th, Jerry Mojak in 19th, and then Sarah Dove rounding out our top 20.
Back part of the field, Luca Verani, Urka Lindstrom, Alexei Sorokin, Giovanni Solito, Thomas Edwards, Knut Martinson, the Orange Viking in 26th, Christopher Rinkby, Josh Ladd, Jordan McDonald, Lubomir Morris, our points leader in 30th, Matty Cipla. Boy, I thought he would be somebody to watch, but not if you have to start from 31st position. Sorry, Maddie. And
engines are revving.
He's penalized as well. They start to harmonize. Evan Imre on the pole. Yeah, they're at the chicken steak, covering on the cows, because once again, those horses are out of the barn. It's Rolling Thunder taking the defensive line into the very first corner. Now he eases it over in front of Scott Newton. Nathan Clark in 3rd. So far, they're clean. Santana in 4th. Ali Hay back there.
Whoa, we got a car spinning in the middle of the southern loop, and thankfully only a couple involved. Oh, no, and it causes more to lose control. That is, looks like Thomas Edwards, Josh Ladd, and Christopher Rigby, as well as Alfredo Malo, all out early.
So the rookie gets a taste of a sprint race. Evan Emre, our leader. Newton in 2nd. Clark, Santana, Ali Hay racing in 5th. Our timing and scoring, the numbers will be a little bit off, but we won't bring it up until the 2nd lap, so we won't have to worry about it.
Oh, and somebody off in Siberia, it looks like, trying to make it out.
Vitaria Lander. Yeah.
Oh, and Summers, 2 top runners sitting way back now here at the start of the race.
And honestly, it was a Lander that got into the back of a car in front of him that took him out.
Bill, do they hand out penalties for abusive chat? Because we have some very heated drivers. Oh, one of our front runners off. That's Santana.
Right in front of Ali Hay. Santana was racing in 5th position at the time, spun it. A Lander had an issue way earlier, so we lose one more. Now there is a pass for 2nd position, and this is Nathan Clark making a move on the inside.
And another
Scott
driver,
Newton.
Yeah, who likes getting these good results. Oh!
And Clark is off.
Oh, and this early in the race is a horrible time to have that happen. You can see how many positions he lost. It's been a little messy. Just a little bit, Bill.
So Newton inherits 2nd. Ali Hay goes up into 3rd. Stuart Milden 4th. Daniel Morris now in the top 5. No big giant names up there. Scott Newton would probably argue with me on that, but
I think Newton's a good one to potentially win this race. Didn't he win at Bathurst as well?
Well, I know this. Yeah, best of day honors last time out, so yeah.
So maybe he just likes these Australian tracks. Back in 7th. Don't count out this guy. Kessler making a deep dive on his teammate Osterkamp and decides better of it once he hits the apex.
Here are your first real big names here. Morris in 5th, right behind them. Then you get to the SimRC boys, Osterkamp and Kessler. Phil Reed in 8th, up from 16th.
This is going to be a twofer for Osterkamp. Look at this. That's if he can carry enough speed around the outside. Does he dare go 3 wide?
I don't think he's going to get anything. No.
This is why he's a former champion.
Meanwhile, Reed has got around Kessler.
Just a little bit wide there for Morris, and much better opportunity now for Osterkamp. A lot less risky maneuver here.
New leader up front, as it was Newton who got... Oh, they're very close right now as they fight again. And now Imre gets it back. Newton had made the pass. Imre gets it back through Honda.
I actually think they banged wheels through that corner. If not, it must have been ghost contact because Newton really suddenly saw his car just slide to the outside.
Stay on the leader, says I think Newton's going to come right back at him here after they get around Swan.
You know, Newton and Imre might want to start working together because Bill, in their mirrors, they can already see the number 29 of Osterkamp. He is 1.8 behind them.
He's got around Milne. Reed has got around, well, Kessler's nowhere to be found. Kessler's dropped a few more positions. Meanwhile, up front, here comes the pass for the lead. Defensive line from Imre, sure enough. Newton on the outside. They're going to go too wide into the first corner.
I think Newton's got it this time. He is well clear of him.
Well, he did that same move last lap, though, and then what happened was Imre followed him around and then made the dive down into Honda, but now Newton starts to pull away.
Yeah, even though this is a pretty good stretch through Stoner into Honda, the draft, you have to be pretty close to really use it to your advantage.
So with that done, we can focus now back on Osterkamp and Reed back in 4th and 5th if they start to close in on Ali Hay. I'll be surprised if Hay leads actually into Lukey Heights. Let's see.
Actually, wasn't Kessler right behind Osterkamp before? What happened to him?
Reed got around him, and then Kessler started to fall. He's lost positions to Milne and Morris. Hay does hang on through Lukey Heights.
Yeah, we're looking back at Phil Reed right now behind Osterkamp. Say accordion together at the bottom of the hill. Got to be careful not to clatter into each other in that braking.
Don't need to go there. Joe McDonald just had a spin. He's off.
I think he's got it this time. Osterkamp's got a good run. He's got a hole in the air ahead of him.
He gets to the inside, too. That's going to be a little easier.
Well, not always. See, what happens here is, even though you get the inside of this corner, you're on the outside if the person holds it coming into the southern loop. Not a worry this time. You can see he clears Hay, but that sometimes going to that right side can bite you. Kessler down to 8th, and now he's got Herman all over him.
Yeah, going the wrong direction. Kessler racing behind Daniel Morris and Stuart Milne. Milne making a move, looking in the front of those guys as they go through Honda.
Well, there was some action up into Honda. Osterkamp was overtaken by Reed. Reed up to 3rd now.
And now Reed wants one more as he works on the inside of Imre as they head up into Lukey Heights. And Reed gets him. He's going to bring Osterkamp with him. Oh, my goodness. I'm not sure if Evan actually knew that Osterkamp was tucking in there. So Evan drops back to 4th. Ali Hay in 5th.
It's so easy to look either really clever or really stupid as a second car build because you can sneak through like Osterkamp did there. But a lot of times, just like you just illustrated, the car might not know that there's a second vehicle coming through. And he can take you out just like that.
And now Osterkamp gets the run on Reed, so move Osterkamp back up into 2nd. There's going to be lots of passing going down the main straight, though. Hay trying to fend off Imre, now drops back into 5th position as Imre starting to fall. Right on board with Evan. And then there is another intense battle. Back for 7, we're looking at Milne and Kessler and Herman. Grossman taking a peek on the outside of Herman into Honda. They go too wide in front of him, my goodness.
Woo! That car up on the curbs, that was Herman, who had to really get out of it because he outbraked himself, and Milne, understandably, took to the racing line and absolutely chopped him off.
Now that train is coming at him. That's the leader of the pack is Morris, but he's okay. Hay, Emre back there. Oh, this is all going to go. They're going to look for these guys to go 2 by 2 by 2 as they go down the main straight here in just a minute.
Yeah, a lot of positions are about to change. So now the interesting thing, let's stay on these guys, but just ahead of them, Osterkamp and Reed are still fighting each other. They're about 1.5 seconds back from Newton. I'm not sure if them fighting will hold them up enough, but I wonder if this is Newton's hope that maybe those two just keep each other from gaining on him.
Kessler gets the pole sitter. Emre falls back into 7th. Another guy taking a peek back there. That was Grossman taking a stab at Milne. That doesn't work.
Remember, Grossman took the win, so right now all he really needs, he doesn't need a second win. He just needs to get up there for a decent finish. So Simon, waiting back patiently, is doing the right thing right now.
Newton, our leader, a second, 1.3 seconds on Osterkamp and Reed as they continue to swap. Now that battle goes through Honda, making the move, charging in there. That was Grossman getting to the inside of Milne, and I think he's going to be able to close the door through Siberia. Yes, he does. And if you're in Siberia, you want to keep the door closed as a rule, generally. So Simon now up into 8th, Milne back into 9th, being challenged by Herman.
My goodness, he is, Stewart just is dealing with everybody at once today. And he's still holding 9th, having started this thing in 7th, so really not a bad job.
Stewart has asked us to call him Stu, and from a man nicknamed Soup, I can get on board with that one. So Stu, nice going.
Never even thought of that. All right, we're going to swap second place again. Osterkamp back up, and they have gained a little bit of time on Newton, but they're not running him down at a rate of knots. So if I was Scott, I would try to give them a hard time.
And you can see at the very top of your screen while that was going on, Grossman got around Emre, now up into 7th.
It's kind of one of those things where you need to be an observant driver, Bill, and watch to see how quickly they're catching you. You know, if it's a second a lap, yeah, sure, just let them go by, because there's no point in trying to hold them back. But if it's only a 10th or 2, then fight for it, because you got a chance at a sprint race win.
Those two race. The guy holding back is Ali Hay. He's got Daniel Morris right behind him trying to get there.
Yeah, this is still that train trying to sort itself out that we've been watching for a few laps now.
Good run from Hay. I think he should have stay with us long enough. This will probably be able to good position. The defensive line from Hay. I think Morris should be in good shape to slingshot by him.
And remember, Hay is another one that was re-grid. He started in 4th, which means he finished 17th last race. So with 13 minutes left, man, what a run from Ali.
Up front, there's a very friendly pass as Reed gets around Osterkamp. But look how that pass brings the other guys right into the mix.
Another 10th or 2. Now that they're in the slipstream, they're going to start gaining a lot quicker.
Morris does make the pass on Hay, Kessler, and Grossman. 2.7 seconds from Osterkamp back to Morris.
And back again, maybe here. Oh, gonna try and make it 3 wide. This is usually disaster into Honda. Patrick Kessler makes it work. Look at that, he scared them off the track. Wow.
The toothpaste was the one in the middle, was Daniel Morris.
Well, Usually, I would say that's an inadvisable move, but somehow Patrick Kessler got his claws on and scared everybody away.
Meanwhile, up front, they have caught Newton now. And who are they? Well, right now it's Reed and Osterkamp, because that's the order they've decided to run in at the time for the time being.
This is not where Newton wants them to catch him. 4/10 between them. I think he might be far enough away that they won't slipstream by, but it's going to be awful tight.
Takes the defensive line. Now he kind of eases over, able to hold off Reed.
Just far enough back. If they were a 10th closer, that lead would have been gone. He really couldn't have done anything to keep them back behind him. This is going to be a harder ask up to Honda. Scott needs to take off the to cover off the inside line. Just see how he doesn't cut all the way over. Newton proving that he is a smart cookie.
Reed, oh gee, and Reed has to be careful that Osterkamp doesn't sneak in underneath him as well.
Stay focused, Bill.
I haven't done that so long and not have them come up. All right, here we go. Oh, well, if Reed wants it.
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, because all Newton had to do was cover off the inside. The front stretch is where it's going to be really hard, because all Reed and Osterkamp have to do is back themselves up a little bit so that they don't lose their momentum too quickly and breeze by.
Well, the longer Newton stays out in front, it gives at least the driver in fourth, Kessler, a fighting chance to get there. Let's see what happens here.
This is a done deal. There's nothing Scott can do.
Question is, will he only lose one or will he lose two positions?
Just one, it looks like. I think he should be fast enough that he could ride their coattails. He's got to... Oh, but this is not good. This is not good right here. Bad exits like that are going to hurt his chances at being able to fight for the win. He'll just have to settle for third. He's really got to focus on getting corner exits and staying within the slipstream for these last 10 minutes.
I need to go to that. There's report that Kerry Nolan and Luca Barani got together. They were both racing outside the points, so not only one. You right over hit that. Working that one.
Hey, Matty Cipolla, I thought, well, I wasn't really paying attention since he got re-grid at the back again. From 31st to 10th.
Worked his way around Daniel
8th,
Morris
actually.
and Evan Emery. Emery, our pole sitter, now falling back to 10th.
Well, bad news for Newton fans. He has already fallen out at the slipstream. It is now a battle between Reed and Osterkamp for the sprint win.
In fact, I think we're going to see a pass for the lead right now. Osterkamp definitely to the inside. Reed holding a straight line on the outside with just over 9 minutes of racing to go. While this pass is important, any pass for the lead is important. I don't think Phil is really worried about being in second right now.
Yeah. This is really them just trying to get to the end, not worrying too much. They're going to swap again here. The one who I think is looking at best today right now is, in fact, Grossman, our winner from the feature, as sticking it out to the inside. Reed, they're slowing each other up. Look at that big bobble off the corner, too.
Surprised they're racing so hard right now. 2 seconds. Newton back to Grossman.
Yeah, and I was talking about Grossman. He's sitting in fourth at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if he caught Newton. So a first and a third, Bill, I don't think anybody's going to top that.
Kessler racing in fifth. Ali Hay hanging on in sixth.
They're big climbers if we had this race.
Well, it's only about a second and a half between Cipolla gets onto the back of Herman, and once he gets to Herman, then he could get Hay and Kessler. So the podium's not out of the question here with just under 8 minutes to go for Cipolla.
But he's 6.5 seconds back. Go ahead.
Yeah, There's a pass for the lead as Reed goes around Osterkamp right now. All right, Joe, I'm going to jump you ahead to the white flag lap. Let's make you Phil Reed. Where do you want to be coming across the start-finish line for the last lap? You want to be in second?
I want to be 5 seconds ahead of Osterkamp.
You don't get that option.
Gosh, this is a hard ask. I honestly, if I was Phil Reed, yeah, I would want to be in second, but I would be working very hard in these next few laps to just try and do a little experimentation and try and see how far back I need to be so that I get enough momentum to try and overtake him. At this point, we've seen it's pretty easy to get by someone, but not necessarily easy to be by the time you hit the start-finish line.
Right.
Which is what you need to worry about. So you got to make sure that you time it right. You know exactly how far back you need to be. And this is the corner that you need to pay attention to. The one before Swan, the penultimate corner. That's the one where you put the power down. So once you're into Swan, you've made your bed. It isn't here where you need to figure out how far you need back. It's before that you're trying to make sure where exactly you need to get on the power.
Yeah, you can see that Osterkamp was way too far back, even though he could make the pass into one if he wanted to. He's not going to force the issue. They need to be a lot closer out of Swan. 1.5 seconds now, Newton up on Grossman. Grossman is coming, bringing Kessler with him and Hay.
Hey, Scott hasn't dropped back that much. I wrote him off, but he's still only about a second behind these two. That 781, despite falling a little bit behind, I thought Grossman would have the podium easily, but he's still got some work to do and not many laps to do it.
The Australian driver likes a little home cooking.
4 laps to go, we're hearing.
Let's give a little bit of love here while we have an opportunity. 10th place, Evan Emery. He's our pole sitter. Alain Tessier trying to run him down. Stuart Milne, we saw him racing up front. He's fallen down to 12th. But a nice run from Tessier, 9th to 11th, staying out of trouble. Then a little bit farther back, Nathan Clark. And our points leader, he's going to pick up at least a couple. Lubomir Morris, 14th. I think that's good for 3.
Leaders swap again. There's the number 66 Morris. Where did he start this one? I think he also... Yeah, he got regrid as well. Started from 30th.
Sarah Dove and Jordan McDonald. I apologize, Jordan, if I called you Joe. Jordan McDonald, last drivers in the points, 15th and 16th. So with that little run through the field here for the final 4.5 minutes, we'll focus our attention up front. Osterkamp ahead of Reed. Reed's partner, Kerry Nolden, has had a problem. He's in 19th, will not be scoring in the points. Osterkamp's partner, Patrick Kessler, in 5th.
Well, SimRC's been blowing a little bit hot and cold this season, Bill, but look at this. You've got in the top 5, Osterkamp, as well as Gross. So it may be the sprint race, it may be worth a little bit less, but if they finish this way, what a result for these guys.
And Stefan Herman in 7th on the Retros team there, teamed up with Grossman. All right, another pass for the lead, going to the inside. That's Phil Reed. Reed to the lead, and Osterkamp in 2nd. These guys only a second ahead of Newton. If they make a mistake, Newton's there to capitalize.
Absolutely. And I've been watching that gap between Newton and Grossman. It is holding pretty much steady. It's not being chopped off by tenths, more like hundredths. So very, very slowly, Grossman is picking away. He's still making progress, but again, I feel like this is too little too late, but I don't think Grossman should really be worried about this. This 4th place is going to get him a nice haul.
Yeah, Cipla seemed to have found his level there in 8th. I thought he might be able to get up to Stefan Herman. That doesn't look like that's going to happen. The real question is who's going to win this one between Reed and Osterkamp. And then maybe 4th, 5th, and 6th, Grossman, Kessler, and Hay still have some things to sort out.
All right, Bill, 2 to go at the line now. It's coming down to it.
Well, now this is, with 2 to go, you can start to think ahead all the way to the checker flag. Look at the run. Now, this is the type of run that you need if you're going to snake somebody at the line. The one that Osterkamp just had, he didn't get
No,
there.
it was 8/1000 short. Can I change my answer?
I don't know if you can get much better of a run than that one that we just saw. Boy, Osterkamp blocks it up. Reed now looking to get in there.
I think Reed's thinking the same as me right now. He's like, all right, it's better to be ahead because I led that last lap. Slots in behind. You know he's going to get a few more opportunities. That's the nice thing about this track, Bill, is there's quite a few good places to have an attack.
Reed all over the back of Osterkamp. It's only 0.8 of a second now to Newton as these guys continue to fight. Newton is getting back in the mix.
Grossman's cut it down to about a second, which will get him a whiff of the draft on Scott Newton, but there's going to have to be some sort of mistake from Scott, I think, on the lap for Simon to get onto the podium.
Leaders go down into the MG corner.
Oh, and as I say that was Grossman. Oh, and his teammate spins too. Grossman and Herman both lose positions with just before the white flag, Bill.
Yeah, not the way they wanted to do it. Up front, Osterkamp's going to get credit with leading the lap. A great charge from Reed. Reed's going to be safely into corner number 1 first. Now it all depends on what René Osterkamp can do.
Oh, big. Look at that cadence breaking by René Osterkamp, trying to keep the wheel from locking up, but that hurt him. I think he might be a little bit too far back. Phil Reed can easily defend the inside now. It is going to be a very hard task for René to get this done into Honda. Oh, he doesn't defend.
Boy, he left the inside open, but Osterkamp says, nope, I'm too far back to dive bomb. All this going on about a second ahead of Newton. I don't think Newton's a factor unless there's an issue. Joe, they come out of Siberia up to Lukey Heights.
Yeah, I mean, Phil left the drawbridge open and just hoped that Osterkamp fell into the moat. That was risky.
Up to Lukey Heights. Osterkamp closing. He's got to be a little closer. He needs to be really on the gearbox into 10. He's about 2 car lengths back. A little bit worried he's too far back. He needs a good drive off of here. We've seen him make a run of this. He knows what he needs to do. I'm not sure if he's close enough. He puts the car almost off on the grass. I think he's too far back coming out of Swan. Let's see what kind of run the German gets. He's on the throttle. Phil Reed scooting up in his chair using his Flintstone feet. I think it's going to be too little too late. Phil Reed gets the win. Osterkamp has to settle for second. Newton takes third. Kessler gets fourth. Hay settles for fifth. Sipla gets up to sixth with the problems that happened with Grossman and Herman. Morris gets seventh.
How about Jordan McDonald? Started 29th, and he is going to finish in 14th today. Wow. That was a quiet accomplishment by the number 9.
Last car to pick up points, Sarah Dub. Nope, she's going to get 15th. Looks like it's going to be Luke Barden who picks up a solo point. And that'll do it here. The racing is completely over at Phillip Island, but you know how a GSRC broadcast works. We're not done. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back to run down the entire finishing order, talk to all the drivers who want to come in and talk to us, put a lock on the gate. Back in a few. Welcome back to the Global Sim Racing Channel's coverage of the AOR Formula Renault 2.0 Season 11 Championship. It's round 4 from Phillip Island. The feature races in the books, the sprint races in the books. Let's give you the finishing order of the sprint race that you just saw. And it was Phil Reed coming from 16th position to get the win as he outduels Rene Oosterkamp. Boy, it was exciting. It was just a matter of who was leading on the even or the odd laps to who got the win. Scott Newton did a great job of holding on for third. Patrick Kessler was able to come from 12th to pick up 4th. Ali Hay started in 4th, was able to hang up there, gets a top 5. Matty Cipolla, 31st to 6th. We knew he'd do well. Great run from him. Daniel Morris gets 7th. Simon Grossman ran into his teammate on the very last lap. He has to settle for 8th. Alain Tessier in 9th. Nathan Clark hangs on for 10th. Joe?
Well, Evan Imre can take some solace that he didn't fall back down to where he finished in the first race. He gets 11th after being on the pole. Lubomir Morris did the reverse, started in 30th. He finished in 12th. Stuart Milne takes 13th, and he'll be followed by the driver I mentioned there in the finish, the car of Jordan McDonald, taking 14th. Sarah Dove, 15th behind him, and Luke Barton finishing in 16th, having started in 32nd. Kerry Nolden takes P17 with Luca Verani in 18th, Charlie Summers in 19th, and Kmart gets P20.
In the blackjack position, Giovanni Solito, Stefan Herman comes home in the double duck outside of the points. David Santana and Urka Lindstrom are next. You know, Leonard Sherry was such a factor early on in the season. He was basically just out there taking up a spot. Not a great race from him on either one. He picks up 21st position here. And Alexei Sorokin, another driver that we expect more out of, really did not hear much from him. Vitaria Lander ran into trouble. He gets 27th. Alfredo Malo, now he gets 28th, but he has made an impression. Watch for him the rest of the season. Yuri Mojak, Thomas Edwards in 30th position, Christopher Rigby and Josh Ladd in 32nd and final spot. All right, it is interview time, and we are first up that we're going to have is going to be Scott Newton with, is that what I'm looking at there? I guess Scott Newton I get to talk to. And soon there he is right there. Scott, it's Soup here. Congratulations. Third place run, and actually you held in there. You had a chance at the lead if those guys would have backed up a little bit towards you.
Yeah, hey Bill. Yeah, to be honest, Phil and Rene were way too quick for me today. But yeah, obviously they were working together with the slipstream, and yeah, being the lead car, having no help, obviously plays a bit of a disadvantage for me. But to get a third place after my feature race, yeah, pretty happy with that.
Yeah, let's talk about the feature race. And boy, it was messy. Did you get caught up in some of that, or were you able to avoid it all?
Initially, I was able to get through it, but then at the exit of Southern Loop, I found, I think Chris Rigby spun on the exit of turn 2. Initially, I thought he was going left, and then he must have overcorrected and then went right. And I was obviously going right to avoid him initially, but then obviously he came across and I pretty much know where to go. So yeah, I just had to fall into damage limitation, and yeah, I managed to get on the front row for the sprint race, and yeah, that allowed me to at least have a chance at the podium, at least for the sprint race, and luckily I achieved that.
I know this is then, and we don't want to look in the past, but my goodness, best of day honors for last week when we did the math. We thought you might have it. You got to be happy with that.
Yeah, definitely. At a track like Alden Park, I despise it due to the off tracks, just due to the strictness of turn 1, but also the fact that netcode is a huge factor for me and a couple of the other guys in the league now that a few more have signed up from my region, so which is always good to see. But yeah, always that prediction code it can be good, but also it can be bad at the same time as well, with the incident points, with the fact that it's a little bit stricter compared to an official race.
Got it. Well, congratulations on a third place finish today. You did a good job of started second, didn't fall back too far. We'll look for you down the road.
No, it's just that, Bill.
Scott Newton, another good points day here for him. Not what he had last time, but still, nevertheless, pretty darn good. Joe?
Well, up next, we've got our driver who finished in the 11th position, even though he was on the pole at the drop of the green, Evan Emre. You know, usually we talk about drivers who start on the pole giving it away because of mistakes and things. I went back and watched. It looked like you were just, you know, there was just nothing you could do to stem the oncoming tide.
No, I just slowly fell through the pack because I just don't have the pace compared to these fast guys. And you're a sitting duck on the straights, so I mean, what can you do really? I was enjoying the first 3 laps when I was fighting with Scott in the lead. I led the first 3 laps actually, but once the fast guys caught up, then it was just downhill from there. Although there was a bit of action right at the end there, where the couple of SimRC guys spun. It made it interesting, but 11th, it's not too bad.
Yeah, at least higher than where you finished in the feature race, which let's talk about that. That one obviously didn't go as pleasantly for you with how far down you had to wind up at the drop of the checkers. I mean, these Australian tracks seem to be kind of a love 'em or hate 'em sort of thing, and you're going to get another taste of them next week. How do you feel about Phillip Island and Bathurst?
Phillip Island's okay. There's a lot of action, of course. It's never boring because it's always quite fast into turn 1. So you've either got the inside or the outside for turn 2, and then you can. Yeah, you can be side by side the whole way through the track actually. Bathurst, not many people like Bathurst. It's just not suited to the Renault, but we've drove it loads of times now, so should be easy, right?
Absolutely. If you got enough experience, yeah. So one last one before we let you go. Let's bring in a little bit of real world talk here. F1 keeps chatting about whether or not they should change the rules, and you've got a real unique format here in AOR. So if there's one thing you would like to change about the way things are run with the double race format, what would you want to add?
In this series, yeah. I don't know. Just maybe
bonus points for middle initials, maybe that would be good.
Yeah, 10 for each middle name. I think so. So that would mean if there's 20 races, right, and if I finish every race, that's 20 times 20, that's 400 points, which means I win the championship.
There you go.
So yeah, good idea, Bill. So I think we'll implement that for season 12 actually.
Somehow I think the rule makers should not be listening to Bill here in this case. All right, so Evan Emre with an 11th place finish here today. We hope to see you at our next Australian track.
I see you there.
It's Evan Emre. Bill?
Okay, and I'm going to get to talk to Jordan McDonald. Jordan, you have a copy?
Yeah, mate, I'm here.
Hey, you know, I'm looking at my chart here, and I can't tell the color of the stars on the flag. Are you Australian or New Zealand?
New Zealand, man. The Aussie flag's got, I think it's 5 or 6 white stars, and we've got white and red and 4.
Yeah, I got it. I knew what the flag looked. It was just so small I couldn't see.
Jeez, Bill. I mean, come on.
All right, so he's a Kiwi. You know, you started your season with a pair of 11ths. Things were looking good, and then it's kind of been hard sledding from there. You did pick up a few points today in the sprint race.
Yeah, Alton Park was definitely, I think it could have been around that we could have got good points. I was sitting, I believe it was 4th in the feature race, and then I made an error, just run the curve a little bit too much, and then spun and then got collected by my mate Scott Newton, and that was that race. And then the second one, I ended up getting collected in the incidents at the start of the sprint race, and basically just had to try and recover the best I could. I was sitting 15th, I think it was, in the points, and then I was trying to go around the outside of Patrick through one of the fastest corners at Alton Park, and it kind of didn't go well, and I ended up not finishing in the points. But yeah, today race 1 was a bit of a disaster. Ended up getting some netcode contact. It makes it really hard when you're from Australia or New Zealand, basically the opposite side of the world, with the connection that we have, just because the car hitboxes get a little bit bigger. and yeah, there's not a lot of room for error. So when you're passing people or people are passing you, you're trying to keep as much room as possible. And it just happened to be that I didn't get enough room, and I managed to get a bit of aero wash as well, which didn't help and got collected in race 1.
Well, we're going to follow you out through the season. This is your first season in the series, correct?
Yeah, it's my first season in Formula Renault.
All right, well, we're looking for a top 10 not too long from now, so let's see if we can get one of those. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks.
Jordan McDonald, hailing out of New Zealand. The flags look very similar when they're small. Okay, I think that's going to do it for us. So with that said, nope. Oh,
we've got one more, Phil Reed, that we're going to talk to. Our winner, of course, here in the sprint race, having been regrid from 16th. That's quite a climb. Were you glad that you had to do it here where you had the draft to help you, Phil?
Yes, definitely. For all the tracks that we came to, I'm glad that it wasn't Alton Park and it was Phillip Island. I'm not particularly in love with drafting races like this, but I'm happier now.
Obviously, you had some time to see how it would affect getting to the line between the last race and this one. So when it came down to just two of you, with you and Renee, what were your thoughts? Did you want to be ahead or behind when you hit the white flag?
Well, as I was coming up on the second to last lap, crossing over into the final lap, part of me was thinking, right, sit behind him, try it for the final lap, get the run on him and pass him at the line. But on that lap, as I was coming up to him, I was about to sit back, and then I was like, well, actually, we've crossed the line and I'm still behind. So if I try that for the final lap, there's a good chance that I'll stay behind him. And I've noticed that through most of the race, that I've sort of been behind him every time I try to quite get up. So on that lap, I decided, right, well, I'll just go for it. I'll hedge my bets on trying to either pull a gap or pull enough of a gap that he won't have the slipstream coming around. And he didn't quite have it, and so it ended up being the correct choice. So, yeah.
See, Billy is paying attention to the same things as you and I throughout the race. Now, the other thing that I wonder about is coming up to Honda on that last lap, you did not defend, and Renee was very close behind. That shocked me. What was your reasoning behind not covering off the inside into that hairpin?
Oh, into the hairpin. Wait, which lap was it? I can't really remember too many.
The final lap, in the final lap, the first hairpin that you come up to after the southern loop.
Yes, to turn 4. I just at that point, I mean, I know Renee. Renee's a super fair driver, and I knew that if I could just lift off the brakes a little bit, I didn't think he was that close. I think he was slightly closer than I was expecting, but I also didn't think he was that close that he'd just completely send it. I knew that he'd compromise himself a little bit, so I thought if I could just lift off the brakes a little bit coming into the corner and run it wide, I know that he's not going to force me off the track. And I had confidence in myself that I was going to be able to hold it. Luckily, it was actually a lot easier to hold it around the inside because he sort of almost backed out halfway through, and I thought, wow, this is perfect. And then, I was sort of kind of surprised he went for it there, but then I realized, well, he wants to be ahead because he's probably seen the same thing that I have coming over the line. He'd be behind if he was starting behind, so he probably that was probably his last attempt. And then after that, I just had enough of a gap through the rest of it, and I'm here now as a winner, which is great.
Wow, real demonstration of your ability and confidence in your abilities. Congratulations on a sprint win. You're definitely close for best today when we come back next week.
Yeah, I think it's the first time in a while that I've been potentially best. I don't know. I mean, a third and a first, that can't be too far off.
Certainly think so. Thanks for talking to us, and look forward to the rest of the season.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
That's Phil Reed, Bill, our winner in the sprint race.
We'll wrap it up by thanking everybody at Apex Online Racing for organizing Formula Renault 2.0 League, and to all the members who support this broadcast. How about we thank the company's equipment and software that you see on the screen right now that we use to stream Cyberspace to Nerdplace. The original music comes courtesy of Eric Eckham and June Lamont. See the screen to how to contact each of them. The Formula Renault Season 11 Championship returns in 1 week. That's for Round 5, another doubleheader event from Bathurst. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, visit globalsimracingchannel.com or check us out on social media at Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head over to the YouTube page and hit the big red subscribe button as well so you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Finally, on behalf of the entire crew, Joe, Sean, and Dougie, I'd like to thank all of you for watching. With that said, we're off to have fun storming the castle. So until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.